In this video, we're checking out a brand new racing simulator by the developer The Last Garage, and this simulator is so new that it doesn't even have a name yet. Now, we were able to try this out because we were at Sim Formula Europe, a sim racing trade show and esports event in Maastricht that we were able to go to thanks to subscribers that sponsored the trip. Really appreciate it, guys, and thank you to all of you watching this video that click the like button and subscribe and do all that annoying YouTube stuff. But without further ado, let's have our very first impressions of this brand new simulator, filmed by Lawrence de Soswa, along with a bonus interview with myself and Lawrence de Soswa at the end. Right guys, let's jump into the sim rig here and give this a first go. Pretty excited actually, because it's not often that you get a chance to jump onto a brand new simulator, you know, literally brand new physics, Godot engine for the graphics engine. We're just going to get started here. Okay, right, bit of throttle. Nice, we've got the sequential shifters here. Out of the box actually, so straight away you have the triple screen works. That seems to be something that a lot of developers struggle with. And you can drive straight away. I can feel what the car's doing, that's nice. This is totally drivable. So this is a, what car was it? A Ford? A Ford Mark 1 Escort. That's Lawrence, disembodied voice there. Grass is very slippy. Slippy, whoa, very slippy grass. I think we're meant to be on the tarmac. You actually get a really nice, what feels like the suspension compression over the bumps of this track. Obviously this race circuit is not exactly the smoothest of circuits, but that actually makes it a really good circuit for being able to feel what's going on with the suspension. This car is actually quite a spicy vehicle. But this is nice, you know. You can feel that on the turn-in. You can feel the point at where the tyres want to start to give out. And this car is actually really nice and controllable. In the slide, this is great. I have to be honest, this is giving me sort of, if we're immediately going to compare to other games, I'm getting, it's a sort of Netcar Pro, kind of Netcar Pro mixed with R-Factor 1 vibes, but with more detailed force feedback. I think the force feedback's on quite weak on this wheelbase, but despite the force feedback being weak, I'm actually getting a lot of detail, so I'll be quite interested to turn the force feedback strength up, and we can do that in a bit. But this is really nice and drivable. One thing I did notice as well, actually, when you start sliding with all four wheels sort of going over the limit, the car wants to keep going, but you can feel before that happens with this vehicle, and it's still controllable. So this is very nice. I say it's very, very drivable. What would be interesting is trying to do some like actual drifting with this. This is great though. This is so already this drives better than anything in iRacing. So it's passed that test. But then again, a brick on an ice rink probably passes that test. No, this is not. This makes me want to drive it more. I'm not sure with. So one of the things I like about the original Assetto Corsa that I think nails really well, or what it does really well, is when you brake in the original Assetto Corsa, you feel the load of the rear tyres and how much grip you have through the force feedback to know how hard you can brake before the force feedback gives out. This does actually have a lot of force feedback range to it. It does feel really dynamic and does feel really responsive. I'm not quite sure if I can feel that exact point of where the grip is giving out, but some of that is this car. This is so nicely drivable, guys. Like, this is immediately intuitive to drive. Obviously, I'm driving terribly. I don't know Bridgehampton layout. I'm overdriving, but I'm overdriving and able to actually overdrive in a way that's fun. Yeah, this is actually really good. This is genuinely, this is really good. You know, if this was any other, well, this is its own sim. if this came out from a AAA studio, you'd be like, oh, thank God, that's good. Like, imagine if Forza drove like this or something. You'd be like, oh my God, they've done something good. This is great. Honestly, this feels, with this car right now, this feels really nice. What I want to do is I want to turn the force feedback up on the wheel, because I feel like I'd be able to feel it even more, because this is only outputting about 6 Newton meters of force. But this is so drivable. Like, see how, like, it's taken me a lap to just get to a point where I can now drive this with fingertips. And these are pedals, the brake pedal and the throttle are set up not to my preference. This is me jumping into someone else's sim rig, and I'm immediately able to drive it, have an idea of what the car's doing, feel what the car's doing through the corners, throw it in a bit really nice. You've got that initial bite, and you can chuck the car in. It's got a nice sense of mass to it into the corner. It doesn't feel like I'm driving a flat, you know, like a single brick AMS2. This actually feels like I'm moving something with a nice bit of weight and mass to it. I kind of now want to try and do some of the stuff that the sort of brake sims, like do a bit of weird drifting. I do feel maybe that it's coming out of, this could be car setup, but maybe it's sort of coming out of slides rather than staying in them on the throttle, like maybe bogging down a bit. But this is great. Well done. Where's it gone? It's really good, really good. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd want to try this with other cars. This is. I can't be too positive, guys. It's good fun to drive. I mean, what more do you want? It's intuitive. I want to turn the force feedback up. Try to be a bit more critical. I think. Yeah, I think I just need other vehicles to try to really get more of an idea of it.
Want to try the Formula car?
Oh yeah, okay, let's go for it. Neil's housing belt, who has terrible opinions on air fryers, is actually responsible for implementing these cars, like, or doing the
physics implementation of the cars. Yeah.
So one of the things that Marcel said is that they've really worked with this so that they want to make it easier for people to do mods. So at the moment it's just a text file that people will be able to edit to implement and build their own content with. But here we go. I need to plug the sound so you guys can hear the audio. I will say actually, it's probably a weak point to this at the moment. I don't think the audio is probably the best. These headphones aren't very good, but I mean, who cares? Like at this point, it's more about the actual driving. As I go off the road again, let's try and get this. Let's try and focus. Whoa! Okay, so this car has the rear on the throttle definitely wants to give out when you give it too much throttle. But yeah, do you know what? Actually, I'd say this is sort of, you get that kind of. It's as if you took Automobilista 1 and mixed it in with a bit of Netcar Pro. That would be the closest thing to describe it as a reference for you guys watching this, wondering what it's like to drive. Nice direct force feedback. Easy to hold slides. Once you're in a slide, you can give it a bit more brake to induce more oversteer. Very, very intuitive. I would like to fiddle with this a bit myself, like with the force feedback settings and things, but as you can see, I've just jumped in. We just jumped in and we're driving this without problem, really. Okay guys, so Lawrence and I just had our first go on the last garage unnamed racing simulator.
It was so difficult to sit there and not give my opinions, and then you did your opinions out loud on that. It was, yeah, really cool. Breath of fresh air, very super intuitive. It's a very similar experience to what you had. It felt quite connected to the car, even though the force feedback was very, very low. Slides were nice. The car is fun. It's a Mark II Escort, Mark 1 Escort or whatever. Yeah, I mean, the potential is amazing. What did you think?
Yeah, well, I think so. I say the intuitive aspect of it. So I found I did understeer initially and slid off the track. So the general grip levels were lower than I intuitively thought. But after sliding off the track once, I was like, oh, it's quite a low grip trap, as you'd probably expect from Bridgehampton, which is like a death trap track. The thing that really stood out to me, controllability of the car, especially its response to the throttle pedal, the counter steering, no like baked slides which you can't do anything with until you went really over the limit. The force feedback for what felt like for the suspension, there's some like subtle nuances to the force feedback. I think it was like the suspension of the front wheels maybe going over the surface. So it felt nice and detailed. I want to be negative. I'm not sure if it had the same detail of force feedback for the rear, the point at where the rear goes over the limit when braking too hard, compared to a Seto.
I think if we crank up the force feedback, we'll get a lot more of that. I think it was there. It's just hard to, with everything going on. Plus, when we were on the limit with that, it doesn't have a round steering wheel on it. I think if it had a round steering wheel, we'd be able to catch those slides and hold them really well. A couple of times I caught it luckily, and it was nice to drift around the corners, and the recovery from that was nice. The recovery of the tyre model is really nice, especially on the rear wheels, because you've spent so much sliding there, so much time sliding. But a hard thing to do in a sim is get a car that's quite slidey but still also quick. iRacing suffers super from that. If you're not at a very, very shallow angle, you can get away with a little bit of sliding. If you get a little bit of a wider angle, your lap is absolutely ruined. You're even going up the straight, you don't have the acceleration out of the corner. With this, it felt like you could be on that limit and stay on that limit and not be too adversely affected. If you've ever seen those cars drive in real life, one can be perfectly straight, one can be broad sideways, and for some reason they're still together, because that's the way real cars work. And it felt like you kind of get that dynamic with the car. So.
One of the things I noticed was initially, because my driving approach, I like to overdrive and then dial it down, which if you do that in iRacing, it's game over. But with sims that I enjoy, they allow you to overdrive. I noticed that, so I was massively overdriving, and then you start dialing it down, and you can fingertip drive it. 100%. And then you're driving it on go to driving it on the pedals rather than the wheel. And that happened very quickly. New sim rig I've never used, wheel set up, God knows how. And you could drive it straight away.
Completely agree. It's a nasty habit we have, because we know that sims have a limit. There's a limit. We try to find that limit. We try to drive to that limit. This felt a lot more like driving to the limit of the car and your talent. And that's what you do in real life, right? You get in a car, you drive to either the limit of your talent or the limit of the car, and that needs to be a very intuitive thing. One of my bugbears, and we kind of share this in common with iRacing, ACC, Assetto Corsa as well. There's a certain point at which the car is unrecoverable, or it takes a while to recover. It didn't feel like I really tried to upset it a lot, and of course it's going to be different the more time you spend with it. Different cars, it might just be very suited to this car. I didn't drive the Formula car. I'm interested to get your opinions on that actually, but it did feel like it has incredible potential.
I mean, I thought the Escort drove back. I think the Formula car wasn't as polished. What I'd really like to do is try the sim with as I say, like a Radical SR3 or F4, a light car with downforce, track day car. And because then you can see how the downforce stabilizes the vehicle, how that interacts. Because road cars and rally cars are often easier to simulate. I mean, maybe they're not, but they typically slide around cars. Whereas the cars in simulators, where they're very bitey, then slide, and then the grip comes back quickly, that's where sims really tend to struggle. So that'll be interesting to see.
Definitely.
But to make this video not too long, how optimistic going forward? Are you excited for this now, or?
Definitely. So there's a certain air of familiarity about it.
Can you hold my camera, because my arm's falling off? There you go. Yeah.
There's a certain air of familiarity about it. I think maybe that's because the track model Bridgehampton, I think actually originally comes from R-Factor 1. Then it was imported into Assetto Corsa, and I think they're using the same model here. And it was quite a slidey track, but all of those, like Riverside, that type of track, they are all quite concretey in places, and they are quite slidey. But you remarked about the grass being very slidey as well, and I think that is the track more so than the physics engine. I think maybe, I don't know, that's just an assumption. Yeah, what was your question?
You're optimistic to where it's going to go in the future?
Totally, yeah.
It surprised me. I think it's great to see new sims come out and something drivable. And as I said, when I was doing the video, it's like, why we've got an indie developer, basically a one-man dev team here, and it drives better than any car, probably in iRacing. I don't know, there's only 2 cars in it, but I enjoyed it better than iRacing. Better than every car in Forza Motorsport, and better than anything in Gran Turismo. One man, one genius, Marcel. He's gone out of the room. That's why I'm complimenting him. It was crap, guys. He's gone now. I thought it was terrible. But,
Horrible.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching this. Go and subscribe to Lawrence de Soswa, and that's how you say your name, isn't it?
Yeah, de Soswa, yeah.
Nailed it. And take care, guys. Worst ending ever. You gonna say goodbye?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to, but I will.
Got
Yeah.
to now.
Thanks. Subscribe to him as well if you're watching this video for the first time.
The least professional video ever. Right. Cheers. Goodbye, guys.